Call the Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. Let the record show today is June 19th, 2019 at 12 o'clock p.m. We are meeting at Lake San Isabel Lodge. I have a flag here to the right of my computer. If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you conduct the roll, please?
Mr. Flower.
Present.
Mr. Candy.
Here.
Mr. Prince.
I'm here, thank you.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Audience introductions. Miss Linda, would you like to begin?
San Isabel Land Protection Trust.
Thank you. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen.
Not for me, sir.
None here.
I'm going to request adding at the end of the agenda a motion to rescind our previous action of accepting the airport SUP. So if no objections, we can add that to the end of the meeting and discuss it then.
Okay by me.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Approval of the minutes, April 30, May 7, May 8, May 22, May 31, June 6, and June 7.
We accepted my saw.
Is that 3 days?
You had 3.
Yeah. Should be May 31st, June 6th, and 7th.
7th, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know where your April's came from.
yeah, I got on the wrong list.
She was giving you the approved ones back.
I know I typed a
That's
lot of
what
minutes, but I didn't
went
type
to
I've
that.
done that too.
I added the ones you said that these were approved,
Oh,
I added
yeah,
in the ones that
yeah.
were to be approved,
Right,
so.
I've done that.
Yeah, May 31, my mistake. June 6 and June 7. Did I have a motion from Mr. Kanda?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve May 31, June 6, and June 7 minutes. Discussion?
I do have an item.
Okay.
I would like to request a change. On the
right.
June 6th meeting,
Yes, sir.
the comp time policy, if you want to go there, I'd
Okay.
like to change just slightly the way it's written. In the second sentence is after his research, Commissioner Prince, I would like to change recommends to reports. Because I really didn't make a recommendation, I was really
Okay.
just explaining what could be done. So I'd like to, are you with me?
Are you, okay, recommend.
Instead of recommendation,
Oh,
was a
you can
report.
come back. Okay, yeah.
Okay, and then
I
I
can
have
do
just
that.
a little bit more.
okay?
And then you're fine with that exempted employees that are under the BOCC could receive comp time at the discretion of the BOCC. And it's really at the discretion of the BOCC. I'd like to add the words, if the BOCC votes to change the personnel policy, because I think that's what it would take to do that.
Speak loud, we got a
Okay.
I'm sorry.
thing going behind us.
I'm trying.
Yeah, so I get it. After his research, Commissioner Prince recommends, do you want to change that word to reports?
Reports that we could
Now,
do
there's
it.
2 recommends in there. You want to change them both? Because we changed the one with the board
We didn't
with
make
a
the decision.
report. And then after his research,
Yeah,
Maybe I could
Commissioner
put
Prince
reported that
reports-
exempt.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I can do
Reported
that. Yeah.
the exempt employees that are under the BOCC could receive comp time at the discretion of the BOCC. But that's not a true statement without
Right.
the rest of it.
Right.
If the BOCC votes to change the personnel policy, we
okay,
can't just do it without a policy change.
if
So
the,
I'd like to add that if it's acceptable,
BOCC.
please.
okay,
Other than that, I
That's how
have
it
no
was
issue.
understood.
Well, yeah, it's fine. I just don't want someone in a year or two to come back to it and say, these guys have changed the policy without changing the policy.
so it'd be personnel policy. If the BOCC votes to change the personnel policy to reflect such change.
If you want to add that, I just said if they chose to
Okay,
change the personnel policy.
okay. So,
And then will you send me?
yeah. All right, sir, any other discussion?
Fine with all.
And that was on the 6th, right?
Yes.
Okay, June 6th. Hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving May 31, June 6, and June 7 minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
As amended.
Sorry, as amended, yes, sorry.
Aye.
With the amended changes recommended by Commissioner, or suggested by Commissioner Prince.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Motion carries. Commissioner items. Commissioner Kanda, would you like to begin, sir?
I think we all received a email from Cheryl Trent, the final strat plan, and it looked good. We cut a check for finish it, and I'll have Donna send what was previously approved. And so, yeah, we complete that. Then we've got to get into our meeting. We're going to have a meeting on implement. I'll look into when we should do that based on what
So
we can discuss it.
what you're referring to in that meeting is how we're going to follow up and implement
Right,
it?
we're gonna implement it, and
That's what-
we don't wanna be accused of having paid for something that sits in a safe.
Correct.
So that is a good thing, and I like what I saw. Then there's some confusion in the broadband world I want to straighten out. Mentioned there is a workshop that's being set up with 2 towns and us. This will be after I talked to Paul Winkie, and he's going to meet with his board and have the same guys talk to him like they did with the mayor of Silver Cliff. Once that happens, they'll schedule a workshop with all 3 community entities. Meanwhile, it confused Paul because Vogel sent out an invite to everybody to go to Salida on what's happening in the broadband world. And I don't know what we're going to do about that. Do we need to just go or not? What were your 2
I was not
interpretations?
planning on going.
And I don't remember the date. Do you remember?
It's coming
Oh,
up
I can look.
next week, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 12 emails.
We got a lot to do. And I don't know why. And I think he's just wanting the communities to understand what the big picture is. I remember he brought it up, I think, in the CenturyLink meeting, I believe.
Yeah. He's wanting us to go, so we'll spend the money.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So we know what course we're on right now. We got that project, we got that fiber thing. We can either elect to go or not. So I just wanted to bring that up. Also, I apologize to everybody for sending out a virus that affected the whole world. I just got 12 copies because it came back to me too. And then I couldn't believe it. Right, my computer's still in trying to fix that because it impacted the Outlook, Microsoft, actually into the program itself.
You didn't send it to me, did you?
No, and I got this from Robert Miller, so I'm not sure whether his computer was, I got the email. So I apologize for that. Anyway, that was the minutes of the Wet Mountain Valley Water Users Issue meeting that we had with them. And so
Well, it was,
everybody's got lots of copies of that.
It was the minutes from the Blue Line expansion.
It was the blue line, yeah, it was the
Right.
minutes went out, and then the blue line expansion filing. I don't remember which one had the most copies. I think it was the court thing.
But the minutes you're talking about was from the Blue Line expansion committee.
Yeah, it was our committee meeting with the Wet Mountain Valley users. So that was sent out, and then I wanted to remind everybody that as a result of that, on the 24th of July, we will have that presentation by Upper Ark, the USGS, on the water balance study.
And when is it?
24th of July, and I'll send out, that's in the minutes that I sent out. But in any case, I'll send out more notice and we'll make sure they get it in the newspaper so we get maximum coverage. And then the airport, I met with Lot 6 yesterday at length, and we're looking at timing. We're still on a hold mode. I did get a hold of Greg Winkle. He's stand-in for Christie. And he had no idea when they were going to make that decision, but it was going to be soon. once we have that decision on how much they're, and I think we're gonna get some. I don't know, I hope it's the whole amount, it's half the fuel amount, which is a couple $100,000. If we do that, that changes what OT6, the configuration of the fuel system. That I'll keep you updated on that.
Who did you meet with OT6?
David Watts.
He was here?
No, I met with him on conference call. He and his chief pilot. So I'll get back with him. Then also had something on the Justice Center, met with Bob Johnson. A couple things there to mention. And I will email you this note that I'm going to read. He forgot to mention that, and I'll ask Kelly. Kelly didn't, we got a signed copy of the contract with them. He hasn't received it. Can you?
Sent it.
Did you send it to him, Mary?
Yeah,
He thinks it might have gone into spam. They have a problem with their spam.
okay,
Might
I'll send
not.
I
it.
was gonna say,
Perfect.
he should have a copy because he signed it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. That's all signed.
So the same day that I emailed you, that I also emailed him the signed
That's what I
full
thought.
contract.
But he says
so-
he has a terrible time.
Do
with
we have a
their
hard copy?
spam.
I do, yeah.
No, rather mail him a
Why
hard
don't we
copy.
mail him a hard copy too?
Okay.
And he says maybe it got sent back, got lost in the mail. You know, our mail goes to Denver and probably goes into some rat hole up there first. And I asked to conduct this contract. It's a war report, a weekly activity report. Let me tell you where they stand real quick. On the 5th and 6th, as you know, they did their interviews up here with law enforcement, dispatch, and detention. They are programming sessions to begin to define the detailed floor requirements for the years 24, 29, and 39. 2024, 2029, 2039. They intend to have the space requirements written up and sent back to each of those department heads so they see what they gleaned out of their interview. And then they want to, and they're proposing to meet and schedule a meeting with us, the BOCC, to say, here's what we got out of all that. And then he says that the beginning, the development of concepts for the building, one or two phases of construction. And what they need in order to do that, and this is a question I have, they want a topographical survey of their land. And at a minimum, they want to have contours every 2 feet. They would like the location of the property lines, location, purpose of all recorded easements, location and type of, electric and underground utilities, basically. Sanitary, water, gas. They want to include fire hydrants and manholes and all that kind of thing, and location of all overhead power and communications lines and location of buildings. So I know there's a plat, but I don't think the contours meet what they want. We're going to have to see if that's something that's something for the county surveyor to do or what.
Is that part of the scope of what we hired them to do? Or is
Yeah,
that
I'd
their
Yes,
say
it
own?
that's up to them to do that.
That's what I'm
That's
thinking.
right.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to have to talk to them about, for some reason, they think that they need this. I'm going to read it verbatim. Here's what he says. He says, but we will need a topographic survey from you to get that going. At a minimum, the topo should include X. So I'm going to talk to him why he thinks it's up to us to handle it.
Our job to do it. That's what we hired them for.
That's right, I would think.
Well, let's talk to him.
We'll have to look at the contract, but
Look back on. All right, so given that, then he says, regarding the schedule, and we can refer to the contract on the first paragraph, page 2 of the proposal letter. He did state the duration was going to be about 130 to 150 days from June 5th start. And so that's good so far. And he said if they keep the schedule, they should be finished the first week of November. That's where they stood. He said that's dependent upon how quickly we get the topo done, the survey. So that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Surprise!
Yeah. So I'll get back with him and I'll.
that was hard copy that he sent you.
No, I got an email and I'll send it to you. I asked, I'm having a weekly report to me to stay on top of where they are. So I'm going to send this to you guys.
Down this way, young man.
Appreciate it, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, if you could include us in those, then we'd have a
That's
chance
what
to read those.
Okay? So we'll get the contract to them, hard copy, and email again, and then I'll send it out. That's all I got for now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've all read the contract. I don't remember seeing
I don't
anything
remember
that it
the
was gonna
total
be.
being our responsibility, other than maybe we discussed that we probably got a plan.
Well, plat map certainly wouldn't have
No, it
the
doesn't.
stuff they're
That's
asking
got a,
for.
very
Possible that your IT guy,
Yeah, I asked if Vernon could possibly clear that from what he's
from
got.
Google Earth or something, I'm not curious.
2-foot intervals, they got a lot of them.
Well, I just think it's a question of whose responsibility is it to do it.
Seems like you haven't been able to Google it, but I'll check that. Over to you, Jay.
So would you, could you kind of go through that contract again, Counselor, and see what you think, if there was anything in there? I mean, I'm looking at it, but I don't see anything that
I don't recall.
addresses all of that kind of stuff, so that's new information, and maybe if we need to talk to Tom Franklin about it as well.
Thought this was my lunch.
Okay. Mr. Prince, would you like to?
Yep, I'll be happy to. Since last meeting, all three of us attended the museum tour at the Silver Cliff Museum.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's why I said all three of us. Didn't want to leave you out. I attended the tourism board meeting. I attended my grandson's 5-year-old birthday party. Just thought I'd tell you. Not sure whether I ought to bring this up now or not, but
It should be straight ahead. It's right behind your computer.
Oh, thank you.
I have some concerns about, and we're sitting in the area right now, of ambulance service. And I just want to make sure that we're going to have this back on the agenda soon.
On that letter.
Yeah, I'm very distressed about that letter. But I'm more distressed about people in our county who don't have ambulance service, or won't have ambulance service if this goes through the way it's going. So, that's really all I have. I'm speaking with Jackie about her new computer needs, that's on the agenda, so we'll get moving on that.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, as you mentioned, I also attended the tour of the Silver Cliff Museum. First time I'd ever been in it, actually, so that was interesting. On the 12th of June, I sat in on the CTSI workplace, violence in the workplace workshop that we had in the commissioner room. We had two different sessions, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. On the 13th of June, I attended the Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District meeting in Salida. On June the 15th, last Saturday, good, we'll talk about it during the agenda. Yeah. And then on the 15th, last Saturday, I attended the annual Weed Board tour. And so we had 12 or 13 people attend that. It was nice. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Anything else, gentlemen? Okay. Yeah, Upper Ark report. Our new rep for the county, Mike Shields, that was his first meeting. They swore him and actually two other people in for their new terms. One was a returning board member, and the other was Tony Telk, who replaced John Sandifer. I don't remember the school district area that they represent, but so there were three of them that were sworn in, so it was good. Shortly after the meeting started, I got a phone call that Fred Berry passed away, so I left before the meeting was over. And, of According to Mike, there wasn't a whole lot of other critical stuff. Most of it was housekeeping. Talked about making the appointments for new committees in July. So Tim Canterbury was elected as the new president.
Chairman
Or chairman, yeah. And I forget now, I should have wrote it down, but I should have done a lot of things, but it kind of went to pieces after I found out my own part died, so. But they elected new officers, and indicated, I asked before I left if they would appoint Mike Shields to that Blue Line Expansion Committee, because we felt like we needed some representation on that. And so later on, then Mike said that he had asked him if he would consider serving on it, and he said, I'll make those appointments in July. So Mike indicated that he would, so I don't have a lot to report other than that. I know Linda was there, and Jerry Livengood was there, and so we had some representation from Custer County that attended that meeting as well. Attorney items?
Well, Shannon sent me this burn ordinance, his revision of the one that was done back in 2015. That one is ordinance number 15-02. This one, proposed one, is 19-02. I reviewed it, compared it with the earlier one, made a few changes to it, and I guess it's my mistake. I thought I'd send it to Meredith, and apparently it didn't go through to her, so. But I am prepared to read it if you all get copies in the meantime.
What's the implication of this?
Well,
Rush?
trust me that I'm reading accurately.
No, I mean, put it off and read it.
Well,
We could certainly reschedule and read it at the next meeting.
could I get some salsa, please?
If you send it to us.
Because if we read it at the end of the month, it's got to be published twice. We could still read it at the end of the month, and we could still do the final reading at Wetmore in the middle of July, so it would, because this one, that's the same time this one would go into effect. Yeah, so if you wanted to put it off until then, if you all had a chance to look at it, you could do that.
And if you read it today, then we could read it again at the end of June.
I don't want to have to read it twice. It's going to take,
It doesn't have to be read twice.
it does, it has to be read, the first reading where you adopt it, and then the second reading where it's officially approved as an ordinance.
So it goes into effect.
But the second one,
Same time.
second time I don't have to read it.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm sorry, yes, I do too. The first reading is, we're going to have to do two readings, however we do it.
So it'll still go into effect in the middle of July.
But it would still, July 17th, I think, is the Wetmore meeting, and that would be the proposed effective date.
Well,
If he gets it.
my question would be, if you read it today, and we had the second reading June 28th, would it go into effect subsequent to that meeting? Or does
Well,
that?
it's got to be 14 days. We wouldn't have it published in time because it wouldn't get published till next week in the Tribune next Thursday.
That's why it's going to go
Yeah.
out on the 15th from that.
And it wouldn't, it has to be 2 weeks before we can do the final reading after the publication. So, I mean, I can read it today, or we can wait and read it because June 28th we'll meet that 14 days. Well, I guess we won't, because even then it wouldn't go until the
Right, we wouldn't
28th
get it.
is a Friday. isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So it
same
wouldn't go
Friday.
in until the following. I'd say let's read it today, read it again on the 28th, and then we should meet our 2-week deal by the middle of July, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense or not? We can deal with it when we get to it.
But the
On the
second reading
agenda.
can't take place until 14 days after it's published. And it's not going to be published until, what would be that, the 1926 is when it would be published. And that's what starts the 2 days, from the 2 weeks.
Yeah, it'd be the 27th actually, wouldn't it? Thursday.
What's the date, 20th?
And actually it'd be
Oh,
the,
yeah,
Today's
Thursday, yeah, 27th
yeah.
of June, so.
So, gentlemen, what do you think? Well, we can deal with it when we get to that agenda item too, but, gonna have to read it twice anyway, regardless.
Yeah.
So,
The only other, I'm sorry, question about that?
apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Is this an amendment or a new ordinance?
This is a new ordinance. This one, in the actual language, is all previous ones, and it specifically references the one in 2015 is set aside.
That's fine. If they set aside this a new one, then
But this is a totally new one, even though
Analysis.
a lot of the language is duplication. There are some changes, and I think
Probably ahead of it.
so we just amend this
shall be
prior.
deemed repealed and be of no further validity as that 1502 be deemed repealed upon adoption of this one.
If it's just, if we just amend, just speaking out loud, if we amend the prior one, then we don't have to go through the process.
Yeah, I think we would, because it's a whole new ordinance.
Well, it would be awfully complicated. I mean, there's the changes. I was trying to sort of keep track. I had
What are
both
the
of these
changes?
side by well, and it's several, and it's hard to. Some of the, and not just that, but his format is set up differently. The numbering is different and everything. It'd be easier just to start with the clean.
I was just
So,
thinking
do
we
we
get
know
it
why he's
in
doing
place
this?
here.
Because of
Need it updated, right?
Well, there was some of the things that, I mean, some of the language about getting permission, for to do an open burn was kind of, he thought it was too complicated, so he's made that a lot easier for all the ranchers and everybody who are waiting, have all their slash piles just waiting for a chance to burn, and that they're good to go as soon as they don't have to go through a whole big process. But if you wait till the next time for me to read it, Shannon will probably be there, and he could probably explain it.
Right. And we will have had a chance to look at it as well.
Okay. It lets me out of here. I could probably go home now.
probably go back to sleep.
I can do that.
Hasn't finished his lunch.
Now, and the only other thing I wanted to report was that, maybe I ate it or something. I don't know if you recall, but there was a class action lawsuit that we joined in on for some PILT funds
Yep.
that the federal government has shortchanged a lot of the counties and other political entities around the country. And there's been a settlement in that case, and we're gonna get some money. I can't tell you how much yet. Maybe enough to at least fill the candy bowl a few times.
Solid.
I have no idea, but I sent in all the paperwork, and I'm waiting to get the next thing from, because this lawsuit was actually filed in Utah, federal court. And so I'll report it. But there is there will be some money coming in. The money will be going into the treasurer's office, identified as bill funds. And I'll report as soon as I have a dollar amount on that.
Cool.
Let's see, other than that, I think I already mentioned to you, I talked to Art Nordyke about the unfortunate death at Sky Ranch, and he wanted to be sure, and I went through it with him as to what protocol he followed, and it all sounded proper and appropriate to me. I know the family was upset, but I don't know if any more is going to come of it. They told us. Well, it was just an issue about the family wanting to see, the body that was already sent up to Colorado Springs for the autopsy and everything, which is standard procedure for an unexplained death. So somebody otherwise seemed to be very young and healthy. So I don't think anything more will come of that, but I told her if you heard anything else, to let me know and I'll follow up on it. I guess that's all I have to report today.
Great. I don't have it anywhere else on the agenda, so I would ask now that if and when you have some time, that you could do a little research as to what constitutes a commercial enterprise in our county. Jackie's given a rough definition of commercial to her planning and zoning commission, but I think we're going to need a pretty solid idea about what is considered commercial and what isn't. Particularly in regards to short-term rentals. Well, not necessarily bed and breakfast, but those short-term rentals, I just don't think we have anything that I can find that spells that out, so.
I will look at that.
Yeah, Jackie asked me to make that request today.
Okay. Is there a new employee come on board now?
Started yesterday. Laura Ippolito, Chuck Ippolito's sister. Admin assistant, nothing. Public comment. Unfinished business. If not, we'll move on to new business. Consideration of the bids for the Golden Arrow Valley subdivisions, Lot 2A, Block 3, Lot 24, Block 3, and Lot 8, Block 5. Counselor, if you would be so kind, sir, we have a bid.
I have an envelope, return address, well, it's addressed to Board of County Commissioners. And the return address, Mr. and Mrs. Irwin Burton, 2863 County Road 255, West Cliff. And Meredith made a note on the back, received on Wednesday, May 28, 8:45 a.m. I slid it open a little while ago. It wasn't sealed until she gave it to me and I opened it.
When was the deadline?
The 10th?
10th?
So this
The
letter,
one we got?
this letter is dated May 28, 2019. Dear Board of County Commissioners, we received your letter regarding first opportunity bids for Custer County property, which adjoins our property. The following defines our bid for the 3 available properties in Golden Arrow Valley. Block 3, Lot A, our bid is $9,000. Block 3, Lot 24, our bid is $1,000. Block 5, Lot 8, our bid is $1,000. It's signed Irwin B. Burton and Helen E. Burton, 2863 County Road 255, with the phone numbers and email address.
Thank you, sir.
So the Block 3, Lot 2A, was, I think, were 9 lots, I think. So all these were the minimum $1,000 per lot, if I understand.
Yep, that's correct. What's the board's pleasure?
I move that we accept the bids for the, I think the total was $11,000. $11,000 for the lots that was sent to, what's the next place?
Okay.
That we received from Mr. and Mrs. Irwin Burton at the amount that they are bidding.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the bid from the Burtons for Lot 2A, Block 3, Lot 24, Block 3, and Lot 8, Block 5 for a total of $11,000. Discussion?
Question?
Go ahead, sir.
Will this be a warranty deed?
I was gonna ask that. If we do a warranty deed, then we're gonna have to have title insurance.
That's my point.
If we just quick claim it to them, which is what I would prefer that we do, then they'll take it subject to any possible liens or encumbrances. And so that's up to them now. I know that Big E specifically wanted, assurance that they were getting good title. These have belonged to the county so long, I can't imagine anybody else has a claim on it, but they never know for sure. Mineral rights are always excluded.
Do you have a feeling about this one way or another, Kelly?
No, like Clint said, usually we do a quick claim deed or a county deed. I think if they didn't did they say in their bid?
There was nothing in there about that. Just offered any discussion, and she came in and asked to purchase those properties.
Can I suggest that I'd like to amend my bid to say we accept it and transfer the quit claim deed. However, if they choose to have a warranty deed, that the additional expenses will be paid by Mr. and Mrs. Burke.
Is there a second?
Do I have to rescind my first one? Second?
No, it's amending, you're amending
I'm
that.
amending my motion.
Been moved and seconded to amend the motion by inserting the words via a quitclaim deed unless otherwise requested by the buyers. Discussion?
If so, it's on their dime.
That was my
Correct.
motion.
At their expense.
Right.
I guess probably out of ignorance, I struggle with this a little. I'm not a big fan of quitclaim deeds. I know it's a legal instrument, but I think your point, I would like to elaborate on your point of you can't imagine that there would be a problem after all these years, but you never know. Well, if we never know, why in the world aren't we doing a warranty deed? I get it that it's cheaper and probably quicker and easier. And then my other question would be, would it typically be the responsibility of the buyers to pay for title?
If it's a warranty deed, it's generally the seller that provides their warranty and good title.
Right.
So in this case, the county would.
Quit claims their risk.
Quitclaim just says, we're giving you whatever we've got, we aren't guaranteeing anything.
Right, and I struggle with that a little bit.
And we can certainly, I'm assuming that all they've got on those properties will be old abstracts of title from a long time ago. If there's even that. And I don't know what the Burtons had when they got their property. I know that, I'm sure they had a warranty deed for the property they actually owned, but whether there was an abstract of title that covered additional, I don't know how far back that subdivision goes, but I assume probably, I don't know, 50 years.
Say 40 or 50 years, I would guess, but I don't know. I certainly don't understand all the legal aspects, and I defer to you gentlemen. Are we talking about a lot of money?
What we pay for the title insurance, 400, I think, something like that?
Yeah.
It'll be under $500.
And would that be 400 for all?
All of them. And I do appreciate the way you amended your motion. If it's fair and reasonable to ask them to pay for it if they want a warranty deed, then I'll support that. If it's something we should be doing, then that's different. But I would say,
I like what Jace suggested. If it's about $400.
And I was gonna suggest maybe before you vote on this, we contact the Burtons and tell them that their bid is being accepted, that we still need to figure out, how,
I'm fine with that.
and if there is gonna be an additional cost, and maybe we can agree to split it or something.
so the amendment dealt with the deed, the warranty or quitclaim. The motion still is that we accept their bid. So we could move forward with the original motion, and if we want to wait, then we'd have to fail the amendment, so. Okay, good. Further discussion? Public comment?
I just was gonna say that if normally the seller does that, there might have been an assumed thing when they put the bid in, that if you accepted it with the second proviso, that they might not want it. They might not like that. So I like what Tom said about working it out with them, the terms.
Now make sure they understand.
Further public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on the amendment, which was to accept the bid via a quitclaim deed unless the buyers requested a warranty deed at their expense. All in favor say aye. All opposed nay. Nay. Motion fails. We'll proceed to vote on the motion which states accept the Burton's bid for $11,000 for said block. Further discussion? Yes.
I have an issue.
Okay.
I have an issue because we don't know what we're accepting. We don't know how much money we're going to get. If we have to add additional money to this, it'll obviously reduce 11,000. And I guess my real question is, why are we selling this? Are we selling it for their benefit? I mean, aren't they the ones who I remember them coming and speaking
Right.
to us, and
Yep.
they were a little disappointed that we said we had to put it out for bid. I don't think it was on our radar to sell before they asked us about it.
But now that it is, what value is
But we had a minimum bid of $1,000 each, and if we pay for the additional expense, then our net proceeds will be less than that $1,000 each. So I'm struggling a little bit with it, but I agree with council. It is generally the seller's responsibility to give clear title and an insurance policy to say, not only am I telling you you're getting clear title, I'm guaranteeing it. Or I'm buying a policy guarantee. So if that's just a normal cost of doing business, then I'm okay with it. I'm just struggling with it a little bit, that we're doing it for their benefit. They bid the absolute minimum, and we'll end up getting less than the absolute minimum if we pay the cost of the insurance. I just want to voice
I
that.
understand your concerns. Here's my response to that. We were short-sighted. If that's truly a concern, we should have taken that into consideration when we set the minimums. They've done exactly what we asked, and that was submit a bid. We don't have to accept it. That was in the announcement that we may reject any and all bids, but that was what we set up as a minimum, and that's what they submitted. If we're going to end up net revenue less than that, that's on us. We should have increased our minimum bids, or we should have cleared up how the title was going to be transferred in the first place. That's
or
where I look at it.
what we've agreed to is to talk to them. We can always say, we're going to quit claim it. Here's the how. Or we can say, what do you want?
I think, Clint has the right attitude. Let's talk to him, and, if they insist, say, well, why don't we split it since it's the bare
Or
minimum?
whatever.
And, it is for their benefit, so, I think we ought to work it out with them however we do it. It's not,
And I
it's
don't-
not significant enough.
True, I can't.
Why don't I go across the street and talk to Brenda about this, find out how much it's gonna cost for title insurance on it, and get some dollar amount, and then we can
Meet with
talk to
them.
the
Are you going to talk?
And I,
Talk to us.
If you want me to talk to the Burtons, I'll be happy to do it. Drive past the house.
I think that would be reasonable. I don't think this is just for their benefit. We've got all these weird lots that are landlocked, basically. I think it's to our benefit to sell them as well. I think that's why
In the first place,
we went on.
Yeah, but when I say to their benefit, I'm saying this was not on our radar to sell. We went out and solicited buyers.
Right.
They came to us. So, this is really their deal. We agreed. And there's a question about how the title will be transferred. I think it's reasonable to say, I would almost say, let's table it until we have answers to these questions and then vote on accepting their bid.
I like where we are.
It's fine, however you want. I'm good with accepting the bid. And if we end up getting
And I don't know if the
10,000.
Burtons are financing this, if they're financing it, they're gonna want.
Feeling.
They have to have it.
Yeah, they have to have more.
Yeah, I got the feeling they were.
Further
See
discussion?
what they say.
Public comment? Yep.
Where's the money for that?
Justice Center Fund.
So we do have, it does help.
Sure.
To
Further public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you to repeat what we're voting on. I just want to make sure I'm not confused. Thank you.
We'll proceed to vote on accepting the bid from the Burtons on the said lots. That's it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Counselor, you'll follow up with
I'll go
that
see
whole
Brenda
discussion,
this
and then
afternoon, get $1.
And then we'll come back and deal with it again on the 28th. We have to, let's put that on the agenda now so we don't forget, huh, kiddo? So you'll report back on the 28th, and hopefully we'll be ready to
I will.
make a final decision.
And I'll tell them to be present, perhaps, if they might want to be there, but you're fine with the city.
Okay, good. Next item, business discussion, participation in the GOCO grant with San Isabel Land Trust. Miss Linda, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Gentlemen, I think you received,
Bad talking to your back. Should I move over?
Then we have to stand up and shake hands, so.
No, you don't
Get
have
grease
to.
all
I'm
over
going
it now.
I had to wipe my hand anyway.
Get grease.
I will too.
Thank you.
I'll even wipe my face. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming down.
My first time in San Isabel. It's
Ah.
a beautiful place. No wonder you guys like to come here. Yeah, oh, that looks good too.
Okay, so actually a continuation of the discussion about whether, how, if we're going to partner and how that's going to look with San Isabel Land Trust on this GOCO grant. Is that it in a nutshell?
The last time you talked, you said there was some other avenue, whether we needed to or not. I mean, whatever.
What I think I said was that there were alternatives that you could decide. I didn't think that I had anything more that I needed to do. I have made some progress that's related to it, but not directly part of the GOCO grant.
As I recall, and I've done a little bit of reading back, could you highlight what I thought was 3 approaches? 1, do nothing. 2, be a supporting partner. 3, be a lead partner. Is that it in a nutshell? Okay.
Exactly.
I had a question. If you don't mind, I'll pull this up real quick.
Copies of it again too, people want
Okay.
copies.
This application to GOCO was not, the pages weren't numbered, so I'm just gonna assume well, yeah, this way we can just count, sorry.
Then we're all on the same page.
Yep, so to speak. So in the second page,
The summary.
the budget narrative, the next to the last bullet point on that page at the bottom.
In-kind class.
In-kind cost, yeah. So, include additional time required for staff and representatives. We would be a representative, correct? Okay. The estimate here includes only time essential to this project and excludes any ordinary staff time. Amount and value of time invested in the project were estimated based on expectations that perhaps 20 groups invited to the table will attend. Budget accounts for 30 participants attending 8-hour meetings, that's 64 hours, plus an equivalent amount of time in meeting prep and follow-up, which would be another 68. So we're talking 136 hours. I can tell you right now, I don't have 136 hours. I didn't write the grant, but if you were expecting me as a commissioner to invest 136 hours, I don't know what the timeline was for this, if it was a year or whatever. That's probably going to be a reach for me,
It's through September of 2021.
2021. So if we said, okay, we're talking over a 2-year time span, then basically September coming up. And I know that you had to put some numbers in there, I get that. I don't know that we're signing in blood that we're gonna have to document 168 hours or 138 hours of time, but it was a red flag for me. I saw it early on, I didn't bring it up in the beginning, and so we're talking 100, let's say it's 140 hours times 3, so that's 520 hours just for the commissioners, and that's only one group.
I think that the number that I figured it out to be was 384 hours for Custer
Okay.
County people. That would include your planning and zoning folks, anybody else who's part of it over a 2-year period of time. And this is not signing in blood. And even, we have other GOCO grants, and the way that it's done is if you are requesting payment for the time that you put in there, you record the actual number of hours and the actual pay that you get. Although that's not how you write your grant, that's how it is reported.
Was that September 2021?
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
And that's in it's the third page, the back
Yes.
of the third
Right.
page. You
I
can
see
see a
it now.
timeline there.
Yeah. So I certainly have an opinion about it. I defer to my co-commissioners. Any comments, questions, concerns?
The time constraint is very concerning to me. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity.
Could you speak up, sir?
I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I think it's a great opportunity. I too am very concerned about the time constraints and how much time I personally will be able to devote to this. I'm not certain what I'm going to be doing at these meetings, other than being the pretty face there. That was a
That's
joke.
debatable.
That was a joke. I said it was.
That's why I come to these meetings.
He's our eye candy.
Because it's really not, I mean, while I'm very concerned about conservation and the things we do, I'm certainly no expert on it. So sitting there and attending these meetings may be kind of futile, other than me just chalking up hours. Kind of like when you go to school and you just, you're sitting there waiting for the day to end. So I have concerns about the commitment that I would be making personally.
Mr. Candy, any
Same
thoughts?
thing, the only other question I have, Linda, are there other conservancy districts like San Isabel in the area? There's some private ones, smaller ones,
We're a land trust.
or land trusts.
Well, we work with Central Colorado Conservancy out
But in the
there.
county, is there?
No, we're it. There are other groups that hold easements like we do. Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust holds many easements, a lot of
In the
land.
county?
Yes. We hold most of them, but Colorado Cattlemen's does, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Palmer Land Trust, there's several more.
The reason I asked the question is we sort of set a precedence, because now we're a county agency. Now, what's to stop them from asking us to sponsor a grant? Well, they could. And now we're setting sort of how do you compete for the county's backing as an issue, as well.
They're all invited to this.
And it's not bad, it's that they could do it on their own. And go after a grant themselves.
The land trust community is very tightly organized and cooperative. And when the OG plan came through, we talked to other land trusts. And in the past, Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust has been the one that's been in the forefront of fighting OG plans. And they felt like since we had more skin in the game than they did, and we hired their same attorney, and because we fronted the money to put in, to hire a hydrologist, that they're following our lead. That's how we deal with things. That's what this whole proposal is about, is to get away from one group coming up and developing a plan that is supposed to interface with other plans. This is everybody coming to the table, including at this table, Round Mountain and Upper Ark invited to participate.
So all I was asking, so then San Isabel becomes the monopoly, meaning the group that is there, everybody's teaming with them. Anyway, just a thought,
Yeah.
an issue. And the other one is commitment-wise from the county. Is there any, besides our time, what are we obligated to take on if something doesn't work out? Is there some issue like, I'm just going back to the burner we got on the property. We ended up being a sponsor just like this. Get the grant, come through Dover. And then we find that we have to maintain the roads, we've got to maintain the emergency power, we've got to make sure we have providers that are going to pay rent so that we can get the money to do that.
Yeah,
So is there any
huge.
commitment other than our time that would result in us or any other agencies bail out, whatever. I don't know what.
No, so even if you are the lead partner, and as I explained at the last one, there are two different grant opportunities through the state that this can go through. And when I talked to the grants officer, the one route, which is the way this is written, conservation excellence, we're the lead partner. The money comes to us, you never see the money. All you are is you're saying you endorse it and you'll show up. So the other alternative is for it to go through and it's a planning grant. And in that case, the money still comes to us. We handle it all, but your name, because it has to be a municipality that applies for a planning grant, your name is on there. There is no obligation of land, money, time, liability, any of that. It's not part of this type of work. Like if you know, we're trying to, what we're trying to do is to find a way that all of the town and the county and San Isabel and Brown Mountains plans, that they could somehow coalesce into something that then we could raise money together to get more infrastructure, which is an outcome of this type of a planning process. Even at that extent, it does not in any way implicate you and create liability.
Last question is, what is the actual product? And who's gonna benefit by what?
Yep. So the actual end product, this is one of those cases where the process is part of the product, where instead of each group doing our own plan and then trying to raise money for it and get people to adopt it, we all come together with all of our plans and we say, how can these interface? Once we figure out how they interface, then we can go together and raise the money to do the work that goes beyond. So the process is absolutely critical, because that process is what opens the opportunity for a lot of these grants.
Okay. So now what's the work? You said the process. Now what's the work that you pay for? What's the end result?
The end result is a shared 50 to 100 year vision of the area, which in this case is the Wet Mountain Valley, which, you know, is primarily Custer County, because our water goes down into Fremont County. We needed to build in the opportunity for them to attend the meetings if they want to, because the meetings are always open. But that 50 to 100 year vision is, how do we keep the county solvent? How do we maintain some of the things that you guys identified in your county prosperity plan of, you know, there were specific things you needed to do, but the context was, the number one thing I saw is people wanted to maintain the quality of life. And so how do we take specific plans about taxation, augmentation plans, planning and zoning, where San Isabel puts more money into easements, how do we take all these things and put them together into one packet where we help each other rather than run counter to one another and be able to access the bigger funds. And that's what...
Makes perfectly good sense.
And it works. I mean, it's the difference between when you have a diverse group of people who come together and sign on to a shared vision that is truly long-term. That's how you can go from writing grants for $10,000 or $20,000 to writing grants for $1 million.
Right.
And have people back you up. The town just had a problem trying to get through a GOCO grant, and I asked the commissioners, and you supported San Isabel in a GOCO grant for the Bluff Park. Both of those grants failed, and part of the reason they failed was because you need to be able to demonstrate a shared long-term vision that brings together the municipalities, the schools, the environmental community, downtown chamber of commerce, and we don't have that yet. And that would have, that would have brought us a couple $100,000 into Westcliff if we could have got those grants. And that's just an example of where we're going with this. The other part of this is there's this GOCO grant that is about the process of developing that plan. There's a companion grant that we'll be writing that goes to Colorado Water Conservation Board. And that's to look at and expand on the science of the water and water uses and how you keep water in agriculture, specifically in the Wet Mountain Valley. So that is a companion piece that takes the $400,000 or the $40,000 out of this and adds another $40,000. The third piece that's coming up, I don't know if any of you ever go to the Arkansas Basin Roundtable meetings in Pueblo monthly. I think I've seen Commissioner Flower there. They are redoing the plan that they have for that. And the previous plan, there was absolutely zero representation from Custer County. And people talked about Custer County and about how our water could be valuable to people downstream. And so Valda, our hydrologist, is going to engage and using some of the background information that she's developed for these two grants, we're going to try to get ourselves on the map and be able to put in there that Custer County is engaged in water matters. The Custer, if you wanted to say this, that the Custer County Board of Commissioners is engaged in water, that you haven't just abdicated to the Upper Ark Water Conservancy District or to Lower Ark, because they have interest too, that you want to be in and part of that. And so if we do that, the placeholder in that is, that's at the level where they set priorities for funding, and typical funding from them is in the realm of $250,000 to develop the science and the legal abilities for a county to have more input in what happens to their water. So that's the big game plan, is trying to get the county back in charge of water instead of other people back in charge of the water in the Wet Mountain Valley.
Okay, you say county a lot, I agree. But I still am not clear, maybe I'm thick, that there's some kind of an organization that I feel like we're abdicating some of our responsibility as far as land use, planning, and zoning kinds of activities that would be handed over to whatever the group set up and said, here's what you can and can't do, and here's why.
That's a tremendously valid concern, because in other places, back 20 years ago when they started to do that, that's exactly how you had to, that's how you got a seat at the table, is you said, whatever the group decides, I sign on. That doesn't work. And so anybody that comes to the table, everybody that comes to the table, always retains their full authority that they showed up to the table with. So you don't give anything away. All you do is you commit to, you will meet the needs of your constituency, and as much as possible within that, you will try to meet the needs of other people who are at the table. But you do not at any point ever give anything away. We can't, as a nonprofit.
I want to feel like it's...
Well, we can't, because those are assets of a nonprofit. We'd lose our IRS standing. So we can't give anything away, and we wouldn't ask you to give anything away.
So once this OG plan, assuming it gets approved with Division II Water Court, we don't really control our water directly. We'll control it by planning and zoning and things like that. And how is this going to change that?
So those are, that there's the legal proceeding of the augmentation opposition. And this doesn't directly go into that. What this does, no matter what the laws are and what the existing plans are of the various groups, what it does, Jay, is it gets us all to the table saying, given this reality, this is what the law says, this is all the water we have in Custer County, this is what the county has to do, this is what San Isabel has to do. Given this, what's the best outcome that we can build
Here's
together?
what I think. We met with the attorney, and
The water attorney?
the water attorney, and I came out with highly likely that the augmentation plan will be approved. That the likelihood that the opposition will fail because the state want augmentation plans, and it's likely it's going to happen. Now, these gentlemen may disagree with my interpretation, but that's kind of what I heard. Once that happens, it's Upper Ark who is going to dictate the water. Now, we can dictate how it gets used in the county through zoning, planning, and other restrictions we can put. But the actual movement of the water, I mean, other than our representatives on the Upper Ark Conservancy District, I'm not sure I understand how this is going to benefit us.
Yep. So you do have an option to have more say about how water goes, and that's the 1041 process, which
Nobody's
is
interested in that.
which is used to good, and I mean, that's your decision, but that's a decision that we've decided not to use a power that we have legally. So long as San Isabel has told you, this is something that has been used in neighboring counties to good outcome. So we've done our part, you know,
I agree with
it's
you.
your decision.
I
So-
personally need to learn more about 1041. I'm not totally opposed to it, but my rough understanding of it is it's a government interference that our people don't really need. That's just kind of what I'm thinking, but I'd like to learn more.
Well, and certainly, from my perspective, this is not all about water.
It's
This
not
is
all
about
water.
conservation of a lot of different things, including water, but this, I don't think this was ever intended to be a partial answer to the augmentation issue in our county. So I don't try to connect those two dots. I think this is a standalone request to be involved in a $40,000 grant. I would move that we become a partner in this grant. I'm not going to put the word lead partner in there. I think we need to be a partner and be at the table. So that's my motion. I can formalize it a little more if you want, but to be a partner with San Isabel Land Trust for this $40,600 grant to GOCO.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to become a partner with San Isabel Land Trust in their application for a grant through GOCO. Further discussion.
So tell me about the land part, as you talked a lot about water.
The land.
You said it's more than water. So what is it?
Well, with the GOCO grant, it's about sustainability. That's the title of it, Sustainable Sangre. So it is coming up with ways that the basic framework that your prosperity plan said, you know, this is how we get at what we want, which is we want the quality of life that we have here. We want open spaces. We want viable agriculture. We want a rural community where people are friendly.
We also wanted controlled growth and manufacturing, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
not we, the community, we, the county, that put it together.
I
And you were
understand.
part of it.
Yep. And what this is to come up with a way to talk about, if that's what your goal is 50 to 100 years from now, how do the decisions we make today, whether we're the town of Westcliff or Silver Cliff, the commissioners, San Isabel, Round Mountain, because George Medeiros and I talk about this quite a bit, he needs a 50 to 100 year plan because that's the time that his infrastructure.
See, I just don't want to have a conflict that we run into. We have our goals, land use one. And if there's a big movement of conservancy, whatever, and we see opportunities that aren't getting discussed because they have tunnel vision there, that's everybody has the case.
Right.
Well, we want to have everything just like it is, and we're not going to do that. So I don't want to get locked into being straddling a fence here as a county, trying to manage to our strategic vision and be hamstrung because we're a part of another organization that's telling us we can't do something. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I see that, and it goes back to your previous question, and that's that you give away nothing to sit at the table. You always have
Never
the,
helped you build an organization that might be a conflict.
well,
We help build the bullet that shoots at us.
yep, and I can see where you know, with your background in the military versus my background.
I didn't mean to use the word bullet.
But I get it, you know, I come from a ranching background, and our ranching background is that if you've got a problem that's bigger than you get with the neighbors, you sit down and you figure out how to tackle it. And this is just the very bigger vision of how to make that happen. So how do we, in your big vision of maintaining a quality of life, what does that mean about how we keep money in the county tax coffers? Because you're at the table with us, we need the county to be solvent because we commit to trying to meet the values of everybody else at the table. So we try to, think
So
about
you're
how
saying we can
Sam,
help
one another.
make other people understand, get out of their tunnel and help them understand what they do that, and that's going to impact this strategic plan here.
Exactly.
And be able to, I don't want to use the word fight it, but mold it as part of that organization, as opposed to the county working with it and say, hey, you guys are going to go off and do that. It can still be done. But the problem is we may not get, if we're not involved directly, we may not get the information soon enough to do anything about it. That you may be off on another track.
And that's exactly what this is. It's coordination, it's communication back and forth of, if you care about the Wet Mountain Valley, please come to the table.
See, that's the
And
exact
let's-
same concept that the Upper Ark has, right? And it depends on the membership to handle it.
And
And
that's,
so you're proposing the only county membership is going to be the three commissioners.
no, this is a complete open,
Well, I know you're getting other aid organizations like Brown.
this is a completely
Okay.
open meeting. Anybody who wants to come can come. That's how this works. That's why the major cost that we have there is bringing in really high-powered, experienced facilitators to make sure that the conversation is done respectfully, constructively, that everybody has equal opportunity to participate and...
Okay, that's a good question. And the facilitators are, we have issues about the strategic plan, for example. In the past, it's been, somebody go tell us what the county needs to do. Tell us to do it. This is not that case. It's going to be somebody bringing some expertise to build some kind of a structure, what?
The way, I can send you some of the information on the consensus style that we've used in different states. Commissioner Flower met one of the facilitators I worked with in the past who's worked all over North America resolving situations.
I just was wondering
But-
what the product is.
Yeah, well, like I say, the product is partly the process, but they have to be independent. They have to have,
No, Lydia, you're misunderstanding. I agree. I'm wondering, the facilitator's going to get the group to do what? They're going to come up with a plan, the 20-year vision, the 50-year. What is it that they're going to come help us with?
yeah, so the first part, the first years worth of, there's 4 meetings in the first year, 4 meetings in the second year. So in the first year, you're going to be looking at everybody's plan so that we all understand what everybody else wants. And we're going to look at developing a shared 50 to 100-year vision. And we all agree this is where we want to end up. And so the end of the first year, that's where we're at. Everybody understands what everybody's trying to get, and everybody starts to say, look, what they said, what Cheryl Trent's group said, that's what we want. We want that quality of life. We want this amount of open space. We want water to stay in the county. You say what you want. You do. In the second set of 4 meetings, in the second year, you've made progress with the science behind it. You say you want to do this. Is there enough water to do that? Is it legal to do some of these things? We're looking at some options in the land trust community that could really help us help private landowners a lot. And part of that is understanding the legalities of it in Colorado. These things work great in Oregon, but is it even possible in Colorado? So that's some of the money that we have in there for invited experts. So at the end of the second set of 4 meetings, we don't just have the shared vision. We have a plan for how each of us is going to move forward to make this done. And some of us who want to see this happen, we have an idea of how we're going to raise the money. We're going to know what it costs, and we're going to know how we need to get there. And the way to raise this type of money is to do it together with as diverse a group of people as you.
Last
can get.
question, I'm going to ask another question. After the 2 years is up, there's no membership fees, there's no money being made, there's nothing but an organization that is voluntarily going to try to meet this 100-year plan somehow.
Yep,
I
yep,
think that's clear. There's no commitment,
yep.
financial commitment.
Because it doesn't create an organization. It doesn't create that. It was just everybody agreed to come to the table for 2 years to talk about this and create a plan that then you can choose or not to integrate it into your own plan. And if you want to play with the bigger group and go fundraise together, then we can do that.
Well, I'm all in favor of the vision you're talking about right now. 4 meetings a year, several years. That's palatable to me. I mean, I'm happy to do that. The 300 hours of commitment, I just can't do that.
Yeah, and I might have misspoke. That's not necessarily falls on the three of us.
No, it's.
That could be shared throughout the county entity.
And what that equates to is 16 days a year. That's what it comes down to.
Which is more than I think the three of us could bite off, but that doesn't mean that other people in the county
There's nobody
Couldn't
that
share
really
that.
doesn't matter.
You go do it for
Can
me.
I ask a question about that?
What the hell, you got nothing else
Keeping
going on.
track of the hours that the county personnel are putting in, who's actually going to be doing it? Or is it an honor system?
It's an honor system so far as I understand. I have other grants where you have to, when matching includes something like meeting space or something that has monetary specific value, you have to track it. I haven't heard that GOCO requires that.
Well, the reason I'm asking is
That takes
because, if the county was asked to be put in money each year, the commissioners can't commit to that. I don't know how they could commit to other county employees having to put in time in future years.
That's right.
A future commissioner say, hell, they voted on it, I didn't.
I don't
gotta
care, I'm
pay
not going to that
my
meeting.
time." So I just don't know who's right or keeping track of that.
Yep, well, I'm happy to keep track of that along with everything else, because right now, the only way these grants are coming through is through San Isabel, and I'm happy to keep track of it. My experience with doing grants for 30 years too is if you're partway through a grant and a lead partner shifts, and if they've been written down for matching, you go back to the granting agency and you say, look, the county just decided that they're not going to be part of this, and so to this date, there's 100 hours in here. That means that 200 hours are not going to be accounted for. What do you need us to do?
Okay,
That's typical. That's,
thank you.
Further discussion? Public comment?
So when you say your motion said partner, not lead partner, so, well,
Partner.
so
That's exactly right.
are you committing to these hours? Committing to these hours?
Yes, as a partner.
As a county?
Okay, because I was going to bring up the same thing Clint did, is how can you commit
Right.
future commissioner, because both of you guys are, probably going to be here, but maybe not.
Maybe the word is not partner, because you're getting, you use the point that other county people like Round Mountain and others count for the 384 hours, that's what.
No, they
Who
have,
is it?
Round Mountain
All-
does it.
Right,
Like,
who
so-
are the people that count for the 384 hours? Just the three
Anybody,
commissioners?
no, anybody that is considered a Custer County representative, and you
Well,
get
what's
to say who they are.
So we're going to appoint, let's say we appoint an attorney and ask him to go and represent us at that meeting.
Yep,
That's 8 hours.
commission,
Doesn't have to be an employee of the county.
no, and, you've got a planning and zoning commission, you've got economic development, you've got
I'm okay with
Okay.
tourism, any of those are
That helps a
fine.
little bit because from a strategic plan point of view, we're going to manage our strategic plan. We're going to actually push people into doing things that they said they want. as a representative. Now, that could mean that we have some project that we've agreed to, and that person could sit in on this meeting to make sure there's some help or no conflict. And it can bring it back to us. That
I
would
think
be
this would
useful.
be a good avenue
That's
through
what I'm
the
saying.
strategic plan. They
As long as that-
complement each
yes,
other well,
that's
I
right.
think.
And that, as long as we have a way of making sure that membership is on the board or whatever you call it. What is it? It's just a group of good old boys getting together, and we're getting paid by
be
somebody
like your
to
blue light
get together
committee.
and talk about stuff. You know, that's what it sounds like.
Further public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Here's your
Aye.
aye.
The
Opposed,
only
nay.
reason I was hedging is because, what did we agree? What was the motion? Are
The
we
motion is
partnering
to
with them?
become a
or are we
partner
what?
with San Isabel Land
Is
Trust.
that how it's worded in the document? You had three things.
Well, it's not in the
Lead partner.
document that, no.
There are three things. Lead partner, and then what? What was the other?
No participation.
And then no participation. And we have to participate.
The word partner was essential, is that what it has to say? Or whatever it is, I want it to be right.
The word here is partner.
So I'll restate the motion because there was some confusion there. All in favor of becoming a partner with San Isabel Land Trust for this GOCO grant of $40,600, say aye. Aye. Opposed,
Aye.
nay. Motion carries. I don't see a signature page on that, so I'll give you that back because I've got it right here.
Yep, the signature page will only come through if the grant is successful.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for being here and
Appreciate it.
answering our questions. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Linda. Next item of business, consideration of purchasing a computer for the planning and zoning office. Jackie made a request through Vernon to replace what was Elizabeth French's computer. So we'll give Jay a moment to get back and
Well, let's see.
we can move
We'll
forward.
take a break. I want to find some coffee.
Yeah, we can, with consent of you and I, we'll take a break.
Let's do it.
Let's limit it to no more than 4 minutes. We'll reconvene, 1:26 PM. Next item of business, consideration of purchasing a computer for planning and zoning. I move that we authorize our IT director, Vernon, to purchase said computer for
The office.
Laura Ippolito's office.
I'll second it, but I thought we already told
No,
That,
to buy one, no?
no. Been moved and seconded to purchase or authorize Vernon to purchase a computer. Discussion? Now,
Is it a desktop or a laptop?
desktop. Vernon said that computer's
Toast.
toast. I believe Jackie told me it would be in the range of $1,000 to $1,200 out of her budget, which will put her in the red. I said it's not the end of the world to overspend your budget as long as your bosses know and understand why and how that happened. So, I don't know we have a lot of choice.
Didn't we have a sort of a miscellaneous maintenance fund of some kind anyway?
Not that I'm aware of, but
I thought we had discussed that.
We have a commissioner's discretionary fund.
See, it seems to
There's a
me
little
that
money in there.
we're obligated to keep the equipment, the tools necessary for the employees, whoever they are.
There's no,
I don't think it's an issue whether we shouldn't do it, it's just a matter of what pot. And I don't think making her red matters.
they could come out of
oh, it doesn't matter to me either. I mean, it was a budget, it wasn't
Yeah.
an estimate. Unforeseen expense, so she was just concerned that we would look at the budget at the end of the year and hers would be in the red. I don't think it will be. I think it'll solve itself, but
Well, and that's part of our budget process anyway. You know, you look at it periodically, you can move funds around. If she's spending more than she needs and has to have some more, we make that effort to do that.
I just told
Somebody
her-
who's underspending.
I just told her I would convey that. She said, you just guys need to know it's gonna put me in the red. I said, okay. So, further discussion about that? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of authorizing Vernon to purchase a new computer for Laura Ippolito, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Consideration of the 2019 housing rehabilitation application in all of its glory.
Hey, Ken, before you get into the middle of that, Tom, how would we handle if Gary Hyde needed a computer? Would we have to vote on that?
Now, I would guess if it puts his budget in the red, I imagine we would, yeah.
That would trigger it.
My feeling is, and I'll defer, but my feeling would be if it's in your budget, just do
Hey,
it.
we just do it. You
If
don't
it's
need to
not
ask
in your
us.
budget and you're gonna exceed your budget, the proper thing is to let us
Make sure
know.
we have that.
And if we do it at a meeting, then we all know, it's on the record, it's as clean as it could be.
Yeah, it's not me telling her, oh, go ahead,
right.
don't worry about it.
That's right.
I don't subscribe to that. I don't think that's the right way to do it.
Shannon bought computers before.
If it was in their budget to upgrade their IT by purchasing a computer this year, I would have told her, hey,
Go do
it's
it.
in your budget. It's not up to us.
You quit asking.
Donna always says if it might put her in the red in a line item.
Right.
But as far as her bottom line, she's
That's
all
my
right.
point, is there people are underspending and there's money there.
Right. And you could jockey around.
Okay, just want to make sure we don't
Okay.
have to do that for everybody.
We killed that. Enough.
So I assume we've all had an opportunity to look at this housing.
This is terrible.
Wears me out. I was going to defer to you because you're probably more involved in it than certainly I am. I can't speak for Commissioner Kanda, but
Just barely look.
I'm probably going to curtail my remarks about this. I think we need to move ahead with this whole housing thing. I think this is part of it, but sometimes I get tired of the government, bureaucratic governmental forms, and this has got its share, but.
You think?
So you've probably been involved, Jay. You want to speak to this a little?
I don't have a whole lot to say about it. It's bureaucracy at its best. It's overkill. Bottom line is, if you remove an affordable or attainable house, you need to replace it with one. There's hearings, all kinds of stuff you have to go through. If this is what it's going to take to get grants to help people, help us get our affordable housing opportunities moving forward, I'm in favor of it. It's just so overkill, it's disgusting, in
Well,
my opinion.
we
So,
could opt out of it, but
well,
it's the same classic thing. We get involved on the front end. This is what Commissioner Camden was talking about.
I agree.
And I made the reference once before, I'm not gonna say it again, but once you start something, where do you say enough is enough? We've had it, we're saturated, this is no longer applicable to us. That's where I think this starts to come into.
Well,
But we've agreed to be part of this whole approach to housing.
it has excellent benefits if it comes to fruition. What hoops you have to jump through to get there are ridiculous. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in these days.
I've read these documents, I glazed over on a couple of them, I just thought, what? Every one of these documents needs a signature.
Who's doing it?
COG, Upper Ark, Council of Governments, Autumn Deaver. And it basically
We've been
says,
waiting on this. We knew this was coming.
Yeah.
We've discussed it. This is not a big surprise. what's surprising is the volume of documentation that goes into COG being able to assist in affordable or attainable housing,
Right.
and the restrictions they have in it. I mean, there's a lot of restrictions in there. If you read this carefully, and I did, there's a lot of things you can't do that you might want to do otherwise. You know, if you set up an area, let's say planning and zoning had an area called attainable housing zone, where houses have to be affordable, no greater than a certain amount. You can't change that. I mean, once you get government money for that, you're stuck with it. So,
where are they gonna go?
Well, I think this same document's going to all 4 counties.
it is.
Are we going to, for example, are we going to relocate people to demolish their current housing or conversion of low, moderate income dwelling to another use? Probably never going to happen in Custer County, for
And I
crying
think,
out
you know,
loud.
I think to me that's kind of like the water issue we're facing. The ultimate decision will be up to us on regulation. They're not going to tell us how to do it, but if we do it, we have to do it a certain way.
Right. Yeah, I
I'm
think
not
we
that
still
upset with it.
have that final say of, no, we're not going to be part
is
of this
tot-
relocation thing.
Right.
That's happening in Fremont County. They needed it, whatever. We choose not to participate.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to relocate people to put the Walmart in. It's
Yeah.
coming.
So,
So this is attainable housing, not low income housing.
it's
low
generated
income
toward
housing.
low and
The-
moderate
the-
income.
I think the politically correct
What we're
way
trying
of
to
calling
get
it
at,
now
yeah.
is attainable, sustainable, affordable, is all low-income housing for people. Mostly it's really for, and it's not, it's for starters. People who are just moving in with young families, they could buy their first house and ultimately move up. People who come in as, you know, the two we always throw out is the teachers and the sheriff deputies who don't make a tremendous amount of money. That's what it's really
That's what
designed
it's
for.
It's not, when I said low income, I meant poor, but it's like building a tenant.
No. You
bunch
have
of
to
tenements.
You have to qualify for the house, you have to show income, you have to have a reasonable credit rating, you have to have a need, you have to have a job. This is not people moving from Pueblo up here because we have better housing in their bridge.
Or better.
No, this is affordable housing for, I like to think of it as starter homes for people who are working and trying to, you know, just get going. I mean, I paid half of what I paid for my truck for my first house, and that's the honest truth. I paid $20,000 for my first house, and it was my starter house.
Say 25.
You know, see what I'm saying? And this is the same kind of thing. So now all the houses, you know, if the average house cost in Custer County now is 250-something thousand, I think. You know, so here's an opportunity for someone to come in with 175,000. And then when they move up to the 250 house, then their 175 is open for the next workers who come in. So that's what the program is designed to do. Now, in reality, what's going to happen, it's up to us, because we can always say, King's X, we're out of this deal.
What does this tie? Does it ties in?
Into Upper Arks Council of Governments housing
Right.
Well, we don't
endeavors
have to
initiative.
perform
We get money from them. They assist,
Okay.
they screen the people, they do all the legwork to get this program up and running. And this is something, you know, attainable housing is something we've whined about for a long time, and we have a attainable housing committee that has money that's not doing anything. I mean, this all can tie in together. And when I say not doing anything, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean, they have the cash, they need to get it in,
The
get it
committee
to work.
being approved.
Yeah, we have the attainable housing
I mean, our
committee.
our
Yes,
guys.
our,
Yeah.
and they work very closely with this.
And Autumn sets on that as ex officio member. So
Okay.
when I read through all these documents, I come up with one snag, and I'm going to read this because I'll ask our administrative assistant to weigh in. I think whoever wrote this document and provided this information to Autumn Devers made a mistake. And this says for wildfire mitigation, this is part of the community plan. I'm on page,
What document are you in?
hold on, attachment Q, second page. Yeah, the community development plan. At the bottom, one of the categories is wildfire mitigation. And the statement is the activities undertaken to address the identified needs. The county EMS has adopted Ready, Set, Go as their instrument for wildfire mitigation strategies. That is not correct.
Correct, that's not correct.
I
As in
believe it should
EMS?
say OEM, not
Like emergency
EMS.
management or, yeah,
Now,
not-
I guess it
not
depends on
EMS.
what you think EMS means.
emergency medical service.
Yeah, no. So I thought it should have said Office of Emergency Management, OEM.
I mean, that would be true, but there might be a better way to say that statement, though. So OEM has adopted Ready, Set, Go as the fire
Right,
mitigation.
and that's what
plan.
they've said.
Right. I just think there might be a better
Why
way
are
to
they
say
saying
it other than that.
Well, they've addressed the Justice Center, the economic development, infrastructure, housing, and wildfire mitigation, and who's in charge of those and what's going on.
They've used EMS
So-
before as emergency management services, not medical. The M is questionable
Right.
here, so maybe it ought to be spelled out.
Yeah, maybe just spelling out EMS rather than.
Right. Because in a lot of people's world, EMS
Because
has
it's not
nothing
just,
to do with
yeah,
fire.
and it's
It's
also
'cause
not
it's
just
medical.
OEM, like our fire district has adopted
That's right.
Ready, Set, Go as,
But if
as
you put it all
mitigation.
under the management of emergency services,
Then-
EMS might make sense. So if we spell it out, it could fix that.
Yeah. So I would be fine if it said Emergency Management Services.
Okay, I'm good with that.
But actually, we can edit that, so you know what?
Let's just,
I will edit it.
Well, who's this doctor?
Back to Autumn Dealer. So I'll let her know what we did.
is there a motion on the floor over this at this point?
No. But the chair would certainly entertain one if that's
So what are we moving? That we accept this and join, or?
okay. We'll find out.
I'll move. I'll move that we adopt the 2019 housing rehabilitation application and the plan for the 4 counties, including Custer County, or the Custer County portion of it.
Right. Been moved and, I'll second. Been moved and seconded to enter into the application or adopt the application of 2019 Housing Rehab app through Autumn Deaver. Discussion, further discussion. Public comment.
Does it obligate you to anything?
No.
No, just again, one of these partner things that we've agreed early on to do. We're going to become a partner 4-county effort to deal with affordable
And we
housing.
could elect or not to receive money.
Yeah, if somebody said, okay, do you guys want,
We don't have to take
do
it.
you want to do this apartment building project?
Right.
Then we decide yes or no.
Correct.
That's my understanding.
That's the way I understand it too.
And are the towns, involved in this?
No, this is countywide. These are counties, 4 counties.
So it's
Yeah.
the municipalities that can.
They
benefit
could
from it.
participate in it, but it's
We
a
could give them-
4-county agreement.
Or we could agree to an apartment house in Silver. Or
No,
what? Or is it
I-
money?
I would suppose we could agree to go to the town of Silver Cliff and say, hey, what do you think about building an apartment? We're not going to tell them
Otherwise, it's a
that.
house out in the county somewhere we're
Right.
gonna put up for
I just wonder,
Kelly's.
because any
Kids to
affordable
live.
housing that's going to happen.
Probably in the
probably
municipality.
in the town, and why aren't they the people that are doing
Yeah.
it?
Well, they ought to.
Yeah, because this whole attainable housing realm is council of governments driven. It could include them, yes. They have reps on our housing, or attainable housing. Both the municipalities do, so.
So it sounds good. Let's call the question, let's go home.
Previous question's been called. All in favor of ending discussion and proceed to an immediate vote, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Oh, sorry, previous question carries. We'll proceed to vote. All in favor of signing on as an applicant with the 2019 housing rehabilitation application, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries. I will sign those when I get back to the office. I've got them here, but I'll just wait till I get back to the office and sign them, and then we can move
You
on.
might get your
Okay?
darn syrup on it here.
Okay, what's the group, thank you, what's the group?
I was wondering if you could move your motion thing up, or is Clint gonna read that thing today?
We're getting ready to deal with that right now.
I'd rather read.
So,
I don't need a hearing either.
what is the board's pleasure on the first reading of the revised burn ordinance?
Did you ever get it?
I am so embarrassed. I mean, I try to do my homework before these meetings. I don't think I've seen this, have I?
No, you haven't seen it. I've got it right here.
I'm not ready to do anything
Byerly
with it
did send
till
it.
You did send it?
It is 9 pages long,
You didn't
Single
send
space.
it at all.
single space. I'm gonna move to postpone the first reading until June 28th.
I'll second.
I agree. I need to read this before I make any commitment at all.
Let me see who he did send it to, hold on.
15 more.
Me too.
You can get a computer to read it, that's what they do in the state.
I'm gonna forward this to you gentlemen right now.
Doing it on a
22nd?
recording that I just
28.
recorded.
Can you refer it?
I need to
Oh,
go.
yeah, candy bar while you're reading.
Do you have this?
I do, I'm sending it to you right now. I just got it during
Okay,
this
great.
meeting, so.
So I'm not
Should have
seeing
sent it to all of us. It would have only taken 7 more keystrokes.
It's been moved and seconded to postpone this item of business until June 28. Discussion? Sorry. Yeah, there is discussion. Sorry. That'll give us a chance to all read it. And I don't think any apologies are necessary. We just didn't get it, that's all. It wasn't that you got it and didn't read it, so. Just public comment? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor of postponement until June 28th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll have that on our agenda on the 28th, first reading of proposed fire burn ordinance, sorry.
I have 2 issues.
Okay. And then I had requested to add, dealing with the airport SUP, I would move that we rescind our motion to approve the special use permit for the airport. And we'll get into discussion. So if you'd like to hear about that, Chair would entertain a second.
I don't want to hear about it now. I want to go home. No.
Okay?
I will second it because I have no idea what you're
All right.
I know what
talking
you're
about.
talking about. I know about
It's
the,
been moved and seconded to rescind the motion. You know the motion I'm speaking of, right, at last
I
meeting?
understand the
Okay,
motion.
so it's been moved and seconded to rescind the motion to approve the airport SUP. Discussion. That was not in our purview to do that. That has to go through the planning commission first, and it got circumvented. I'm the one that put it on the agenda per Lynn Legree's request. I assumed that it was going through the proper channels. Jackie informed me it wasn't. She said, if we want to do this right, you better rescind that motion. It's actually the county requesting the planning and zoning or the planning commission to consider that SUP. It's not, the airport doesn't do it. It's us doing it for the airport. So that's why.
Question.
Further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on the motion to rescind the motion from June 7th to approve the airport SUP. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion
So I
carries.
assume what's going to happen.
That motion's been rescinded.
Good. So I assume the process now will go to planning and zoning, and it may come back to us with their recommendation.
Exactly.
Wait.
Perfect. That's the way it
Exactly.
should be.
That's what it should have
I
done.
appreciate it.
with the airport.
We're human. We're human.
We circumvented that.
No big
Probably I took the lead on making that happen, so.
So part of that motion was about those changes. the signage changes, so they'll just handle that
That's
during
right,
the
that
planning
will,
commission
yep,
thing.
yep,
Okay.
that'll all be fleshed out, hopefully
What they
before it
should've
gets
done.
to us again.
Okay.
You know, we had talked about that sign,
Right.
if there was any conflict with the existing sign ordinances. We worked on that language this morning, actually. So when it gets to the planning commission, it should be adequate. And they're meeting July 1. So that's on the agenda, or will be on the agenda now that we've passed that motion. So, anything else, gentlemen, before we move to public comment? Yes, sir.
I have two items I'd like to bring up. One I mentioned briefly, I just want to confirm that we're okay with this. I've been speaking with an entity that is interested in buying the Metalworks building in Silver Cliff. I've got the name of it, something Metalworks.
Didn't we all get a letter from them,
Critical
didn't we?
path?
Critical Path, thank you.
Yeah. I got a letter from them saying they were gonna go in there and make hemp juice.
Right. And the question to me was, does the commission have an issue? I said to them last time, this is a Silver Cliff issue. If they don't have an issue, we're not going to have an issue. I want to confirm that. I didn't overstep my bounds by saying that to them because I thought that's what we discussed.
I remember reading something, whether it was an email or whatever. So I thought it was an informative thing of saying such and such is
They
considering
weren't asking for permission.
buying this property, correct? Or leasing it,
And they're buying it.
buying the property, and they were going to do hemp production.
And they look
They'll have
forward to
they'll
being in
have
the county.
15 employees. Silver Cliff tentatively told them it's fine. They just don't want to buy the building and then
Right, okay.
the county commissioners come back and say, time out.
I didn't get them
We got a
asking
big
for
issue.
for any permission either. They just informed us, right? And if we had an issue, we could make it.
And he
Want to know about
He
it.
being Jeff Hayes, who is the principal, happens to be a friend of mine, said to me, is the commission going to have a problem with this? I said, I don't know the answer to that. I brought it up the first time he said, and it's really a Silver Cliff issue. He asked again because he's getting ready to plunk down a big chunk of change. I
It
told him I'd
seems
bring it
like
up
that
one more
wouldn't
time.
have gone through a Silver Cliff board to approve the
It is,
business, didn't it?
all the Silver Cliffs going to do their process.
So they haven't.
He just
heard.
wants to
He
make
just
sure
wanted to
if
know.
Silver Cliff gives him the go-ahead, does he need anything from the county? And I told him I did not think so, but I would bring it up one more time just to make sure. I was just trying to be courteous to him.
Not applicable, but if they wanted to raise another agricultural crop in there, like corn, what would we have to say about it? Hemp's no different.
Well, and that's how I felt. I didn't want to take the,
Totally different story.
I don't want to take the responsibility of saying, no
Right.
problem, go do it without at least putting it on the table.
I can't imagine it becoming a county purview myself,
I don't
because it's in the
either.
town of Silver Cliff.
The only thing could be, although I don't even see it, there'll be trucks transporting product in and out on county roads, but they're going to pay taxes like everybody else. I didn't have a problem, but I just wanted to make sure they were okay. Okay,
I don't see any, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
thank you.
Is he a local guy?
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah, he
I
lived,
don't know.
in fact, you drove past his house on your way here. He's on the road, a couple miles down the road from Bishop's Castle.
This one,
Sorry.
or here.
North.
Yeah, he's in Custer
North,
County.
north of Bishop's County.
Yeah, he's in Custer County. Second thing I'd like to bring up, looking around, I'd like to suggest, I love coming here, don't get me wrong, but we come twice a year. I would like to make a recommendation that we come here once a year and put the airport on the agenda for once a year. That was a very nice thing. We did get people from that neighborhood come in. So I think we could spread ourselves out a little bit if we did that. And I'm not sliding San Isabel in any way whatsoever, other than it doesn't look like a bunch of San Isabel folks are coming to our meetings. So,
Not even one.
No, I agree with you.
sometimes they do, but I mean, I think it's a courtesy to come out here, and I like coming. But I think it'd be nice if we went out to the airport area too.
Did we already talk about the airport once already? Are they planning on that?
Just
Well, informal discussion with them, yeah, we'll deal with that in January when we firm up our meeting schedule.
Yeah, I'll second that.
It's a good idea. Anything else before we move to public comment? I know Mr. Rusty has something he'd like to follow up with us. We can do that during public comment since it wasn't an agenda item. Yes, sir.
I was just curious if you were having a workshop about digging a trench at the landfill.
We discussed that. We did not set a date.
Oh. Because I keep calling Caterpillar and there still isn't a scraper available, and who knows when it's going to be.
Yep.
So do you have a request in, Rusty, to get one if it becomes available? Are they gonna call you with the potential?
What now?
Do you have a request with Cat, or do you just keep calling them and inform them?
Yeah, I told them that I better be on top of the list.
Yeah. Then you can.
Because I've been trying for 3 months, so.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Just FYI, because we talked about potentially having a third party do this. There is a third party that contacted me that is interested in bidding on this when the time comes. If we choose to go that way.
Right.
I have no problem doing it any way you want, just wanted to make that known.
Well, and I think our initial conversation was to meet with a local contractor. And I think we're going to get right back when we get all the flesh peeled off the bone of saying, okay, if we're going to do this, we either put it out for bid or we let Rusty rent a piece of equipment. Those are our two options, correct? And obviously, if we put it out to bid, then we need to put it out to bid to anybody and everybody, just like we did the airport thing. My thought now is if we have a workshop with one individual, then we're probably going down a road that we shouldn't be going down. If we put it out for bids and we only get interest from one individual, then I'm all about having a workshop.
Or we wouldn't need a workshop if we know
Well-
what the price is. What's
Well,
the price
that
of
was
it?
the point of the workshop, was to figure out how we were gonna go about that.
But we need to know the cost of a scraper from Cat, basically, and your time issues there before we even have a workshop.
Right, so we have 22,000 in landfill budget for a scraper for 1 month.
And we're looking at probably 70 to finish the job, 75,000, so.
Pretty big deal. And your time, which is very valuable.
Sure.
Well,
See how he's valuable.
how valuable? How valuable? What's very mean? So that's kind of where I'm at, Rusty, is that if you indicate to us that you think that's smart to put it out for bid so we get some idea, then I think that's what we ought to do.
See, we're probably okay for, for this year, I'm sure, but it would be nice if Cat had the scraper by September, and dig in September.
Before the ground freezes.
Just want to do it before winter.
Right. See, there's a downside probably of putting it out for bids. If we put it out for bid and we accept the bid, they're going to want to do it, and they're going to want to do it all, is my sense. They're not going to want to do a third of it now and a third of it next year and a third of it the year after.
Yeah.
If we continue to do it ourselves, then we can pace that out and pay for it accordingly. But if we put it out for bids, we might negotiate maybe 2 payments over 2 years or whatever, but I see that as kind of a detriment. If we're going to ask private companies to bid to dig this trench, they're probably going to want to dig the
I'll
whole
tell you
stinking
another approach.
600 feet.
Put a requirement.
Here's
So
another
for
thought, guys, is I know that there's 5 scrapers in Custer County that belong to Ed Lyons and Cycle. We could ask them if because they don't always do a lot of business, and they could lease one of them from them at maybe a cheaper price than Cat.
Probably.
Just
Probably
put it
right.
up for a bid on, we want to lease one, will you lease us one? And we could probably get it sooner.
And then we're back to having to provide an operator for it.
That's right.
Unless we lease it with
That's
an
Exactly
operator.
right. You could lease it.
Which-
Maintenance if something goes
Then
wrong.
basically you're not leasing it, you're hiring them to come do the
Right,
work.
but that's why I say let's keep it as Rusty's the operator, because that's the flexibility. That's an option, that's just an option. And it may be cheaper than waiting around for Cat. Well, I know it is, because Cat gives you,
I have no idea.
If you have an issue with Cat, you call them up, they get a mechanic right up here and get it fixed, and it's on them.
That's what we would have to set up with Cypher or get.
Then if we hire somebody to do it, it's on them. If we lease their equipment, then it's gonna be on us.
Could be, it depends on the contract you got.
You know,
They got mechanics.
So-
scrapers are expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every part on them is expensive.
So you have continued to explore the availability with CAD, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep on it. If I have to drive down there and get face to face with the representative down there, I can do that. And sometimes that helps.
Right.
Yeah, it does.
Could you give us the specs so we could write up a bid RFP?
On the
I'm
pit,
assuming on the pit to
what needs
finish
be
it.
done. Sure.
And then we can say, all right, do we want to put this out for bids?
And I think,
Reserve the right to refuse and move forward.
I agree with that, but I also agree you could put it as part of the request that this will be a 3-year commitment, a third. And I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. They will. Anybody's doing it for a living is not going to want to milk it for 3 years, but it's only 600 feet, right?
Yeah, 700.
700. Knock it out in.
How deep? 80 feet, something.
20 feet deep, 100 feet wide.
That's 100 feet.
It's a lot of material.
Probably 40,000 yards.
600 feet long, 40.
Now, they may say, you know what, I mean, I've already talked to a contractor that said he would consider building that out over 2 years. But he said, I guarantee you find anybody to build it out for 3 years, you better jump on it because they won't do it.
And then
So
just
price
like
of
you
fuel.
can't guarantee them in the future, you
No.
can only guarantee them 1 year.
Price of fuel and, it goes on and on and on. But we could put whatever restrictions we want on a bid request and see if we get any takers.
I'll keep on Caterpillar.
Okay.
Because if we get one from Caterpillar, we're in good shape.
Yeah, we budgeted for it, number one.
Yeah,
If we can get it before the ground freezes.
right.
If we do anything else, then we're gonna talk about spending money that we didn't budget for. We'd have to budget for it next year. Of course, October will be on us before we know it.
See, those scraper from Caterpillar is a self-loader. It's got an elevator on it, so it's just a
Right.
one-man operation.
Right. Don't have to have a
It's not
pusher.
a push-pull like these other scrapers.
Right. And, there's some upsides to being able to do it in-house. You do it when you want. If you didn't want to start tomorrow morning at 8, you didn't have to. Okay.
44,000 yards.
How many?
Yeah.
44,000.
That's what we estimated, right, 40,000. It's not, the problem is, it's not 100 feet all the way down, it tapers down to, what's the bottom, 40?
Yeah, they want 34 feet in the bottom.
Yeah,
They're afraid those sidewalls are gonna cave in, which
Right.
isn't never gonna happen.
right. So, I'd say we maybe get some specs from Rusty in writing and then
Sure.
move forward from there. We could throw out an RFP, it's not gonna hurt us any.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way that you can budgetarily, legally just do it? Because Rusty, you're planning on the next 3 years renting this scraper from Caterpillar, right?
Right.
Every year it's gone up in price. And are you gonna get it next year? Are you gonna go through this whole
Right.
thing next year? Would it be smart to just do it and pay for it and be done with it?
And that's exactly what we asked.
Get it done in a month, you can't, right? It's 2 months, 3 months.
Not us, outside probably could.
Yeah, if they stayed on it every day, they could get it knocked out.
Well, let's look at the cost, because she brings up a good point. We'll have to see where we're spending. But I'll bet you we got enough to cover the rent
Well, you got 1 year paid for, budget.
already.
Yeah.
And And the other
This
is
is getting a
another
little ridiculous.
$50,000.
That's what I'm guessing, it'd be 75,000 total.
Yeah. So that's.
And by October, we'll have another 20 budgeted.
If I go out and figure out if they can, if we can find something for 3 months, we'll see what it's gonna cost. Get it done now.
Has anybody officially heard about the tree removal?
No.
I have not. I was told they were going down there. I saw them headed that way, but that's the last one.
I'm just afraid when they pull it out, it's going to be a big hole and all the river water's going to
Good
go in.
concern, sir. They're
It's
not
gonna be
pulling it
dry.
They're
out.
not pulling it.
I
They
know they're
decided to cut
down.
it, yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, and I hadn't thought about that. Gary said, good chance it can make problems worse, so. I just have not talked to him, so I didn't know. Anything else? Further public comment? Hearing none, Chair will adjourn the meeting. Let the record show it is 2:04 p.m.
We gotta come down here more often, it's only a 2-hour meeting.
But then it's not hour drive.
Oh, but the drive is pleasant, the meeting, well, no, I love this meeting.